Oh, hello everybody, my name is Matt Muhammad, and the depression got worse. You think after Jellystone would be released, I wouldn't be as depressed anymore. And you're right, but I didn't expect the show to end after episode 10. I'm a wreck, I can't do anything. I'm so depressed that I checked myself into this hotel. No reason, just felt like getting away from it all. If only the show can just get a second season or something. For those who don't know, last year the show called Jellystone came out for HBO Max, and I went ahead and reviewed and ranked all the current episodes of that season, which were 10. Well, 1 year later, and Season 2 is here along with 20 more episodes, so you know what time it is. Time to clear my schedule. So, how will I rank these episodes? Well, like last time, the way I'll rank them is by going episode by episode, summarizing the plot, and then listing the pros and cons, and then where I'll put them in the ranking. One thing I want to know is that Season 1 grouped 2 episodes, or segments, into one episode. So technically, the 10 episodes I ranked last year were really 20 episodes. Season 2 has them separated, which will make ranking them easier because instead of going episode 1A, 2B, 3B, 4A, I will just say episode 1, 3, 5, and 6. So now that all that's cleared up, let's move on to episode 1 of Season 2. Actually, before we get to Season 2, let's talk about episode 11 real quick, because this episode was released after the original batch of episodes as a Halloween special, so it counts, so I need to talk about it before we get to Season 2. Anyway, so the plot is relatively pretty simple. During Halloween, Augie Doggy, Shag, and Yaki help the Winsome Witch. That's her name. Alright then. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. During Halloween, Augie Doggy, Shag, and Yaki help the Winsome Witch with decorations for Halloween, but they end up using her spellbook to summon these monsters that come to life and help them. However, they end up stealing candy and causing a ruckus, so they end the spell, and as a punishment, the Winsome Witch forces the kids to eat all the candy that was stolen. The pros for this episode is that it has a really good Halloween song and a bunch of good jokes. Some cons would be that the plot is kind of basic and boring, and everything after the Halloween song is basic because the Halloween song is just so good that you cannot follow anything up with it. Also, side note, sorry if most of these are just going to boil down to good jokes, basic plot. I have to review 20 of these, I will run out of things to say. Anyway, it's time to move on to the real first episode of Season 2. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Jabba Da pretends to be a bad guy so El Capote can stop her so she can kiss him. We're starting off strong, aren't we? Some pros is that it has good jokes. The way that Jabba tries to put herself in trouble is very creative, and I just love the dance scene at the end of the episode where they're just like doing dancing like this Mexican style. It's really great. Also, side note, I didn't mention this in the last ranking, which I really wish I did, but I just love the use of the kazoo motif that is used in this show. It's based on the one in the theme song, and it never gets annoying, and I just love how it's used. One con is that the kiss and stuff may be uncomfortable, but that might just be me. I'm putting it above Spellbook. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Augie, Shaggy, and Yaki use the town's clock to turn back time, so all the adults in Jellystone are children so they have someone to play with. They end up accidentally turning it too much and turn them into babies. Snagglepuss wants it to stay that way because he's young and hates being old, as well as these two old people who are able to turn it back to an age where they are young, but not children. Ending up, they turn back time back to normal, and everyone is back to the regular age. What I like about this episode is how it has good jokes, I love the creativity of the plot, and this one gag is pretty funny and a bit meta. What I didn't like was how Shag flossed at the beginning. Please stop, flossing isn't funny anymore, and it was not funny anymore 2 years ago. I'm putting this episode above episode 1. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Cindy befriends an alien named Bleep and decides to clone him to give Bleeps to everyone. Ending up, the town hates them and accidentally gives them hot sauce, which turns them into monsters. Cindy stops them and sends them to the Milky Way galaxy, but also sacrifices the first Bleep. The pros are they have good jokes, I love the ending, and I love how there was continuity to the show, since Bleep appeared in the Season 1 episode, Mr. Flabby Wabby Dabby Jabby. Cons is that the episode is a bit boring, and I feel like Cindy herself is a bland character, and can't really hold an episode. Below Spellbook. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Yogi starts a band. That's the entire episode. He gets help from Squiddly and she ends up being better than him, so he quits the band and later rejoins and makes up for it and they sing a song. Pros are it has good jokes, the music in this episode was actually not that bad, and the tune to the last song they sing is the friggin' Banana Splits theme song. Oh my god, this show is comedy gold. Cons is the story is a bit weak with how Yogi acts a bit too dumb, in my opinion. He kind of just like overreacts to every little thing for no reason. I'm putting this episode under episode 1. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Jellystone mistakes a lunar eclipse as the moon eating the sun, so they send Yogi, Snagglepuss, and Augie Doggy to stop it. They realize their mistake though and help the moon go with the sun, because of course they're alive and in love. Prozor has Huckleberry Hound, which is a really good character. The episode is really fun, and it has good jokes. And to be honest, I don't really have any cons to this episode. It's just really good and funny. I can't think of a single bad thing about it. I'm going to put this episode above episode 2. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Jabberjaw and Loopy disguise themselves as sea monsters so they can scare everyone away at the beach, so they can relax. Chaos ensues as everyone else tries to take back the beach. Prozor has good jokes, has nice callbacks to previous episodes to a coconut gag, and we learn that Huckleberry Hound has been married and divorced 3 times. This is the Hanna-Barbera lore we needed. Cons are the story is a bit boring, and to be honest, Jabberjaw is a bit annoying. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Augie becomes a businesswoman and becomes so good at business that she ends up achieving maximum business status and starts turning everything into corporate. However, they stop her, and Bobby, the character who is Augie's mentor in this episode, buys her company. But it is revealed at the end of the episode that she is also in maximum business power and is waiting for the right time to take over Jellystone and the world. Prozor has good jokes, the characters here are really good, the plot is amazing, and it has astounding foundations for lore. The cons is nothing. This is the best episode so far. Top of the list. Just all the way up there. It's not as good as the season 1's best episode, but it's getting there. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Magilla starts to feel out of touch when the four-legged pants fad sweeps through Jellystone. However, everyone starts to experiencing the flaws of four-legged pants, mainly the fact that there's 2 extra legs. Now, Squidly must enlist Magilla for help to solve this catastrophe. Pros, though, it has a good song and it has good jokes. Cons are Squidly is a bit annoying in this episode, and the ending is just one of those, oh, it restarted. Like, it's just kind of dumb. I think I'll put it above episode 1. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. A burglar tries to rob Magilla's store, so Jabberjaw and Loopy stop it. Pros are it has good jokes, cons is that the plot is kind of basic and predictable. The episode is the definition of a fine episode. Above episode 8. I'm saying episode a lot this episode. So the plot is also pretty simple. Lippy the Lion and Hardy Har Har have misplaced their treasure somewhere in Jellystone. When the people hear about it, everyone goes looking for it, using clues that they heard Lippy and Harley mention. Prozor has good jokes and clues that do make sense, and it is a fun mystery if you want to try and figure out without being spoiled. Cons would be the plot is a bit basic, and the episode itself is really just fine. I'm gonna put it below episode 9. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Doggy Daddy is actually put in charge in stopping Grape Ape's rampage of stealing food because he's a dad and Grape Ape is a child, and because he told his daughter that he would beat him up as a joke. But because he never needed to discipline Augie, he fails at disciplining Grape Ape. Ending up, he learns to say no, but that makes Augie sad, so Grape Ape hits Doggy, and Augie Doggy gets so mad that she smack talks Grape Ape. That actually happens, I'm not joking. For the pros, I'll say it has good jokes. I don't know why, but Doggy threatening to take away Grape Ape's video games is just amazing. And it made fun of anime, which I'll always respect, because anime sucks. For the cons, it is a misunderstanding / liar revealed plot, and I find it weird that Augie shames her death for smack talking Grape Ape when she decides to do it later on in the episode. Yeah? I'm gonna put it above episode 9. So the plot is also pretty simple. The Sting Factory has gone haywire, causing the town to smell so bad that everyone passes out. But not Yogi Bear, Doggy Daddy, or Mildew, because they can't smell, so they decide to go and stop it. Prozor has good jokes. I find a funny thing that Doggy Daddy and Augie Doggy watched all 5,000 episodes of Scooby-Doo in one night, and everyone who passed out looks funny. Cons would be that's a fart episode, and Mildew can't really be a character because he's just a one-note character, that being he's unlucky. And Jabberjaw's appearances are kind of annoying in this episode. I'm gonna put it below episode 7. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Boo Boo and Benny become best friends much to the dismay of Yogi and Top Cat, so Top Cat devises a plan to separate them. The pros I would say is that it has good jokes and it has Top Cat, one of the best characters in the show. Cons would be that it's a bit boring, to be honest. Like, I don't know, it may just be me. I'm gonna put it above episode 11. So So the plot is also pretty simple. All of Jellystone packages have been stolen, so they're trying to figure out who did it. But it turns out Yaki did it for unboxing videos. So with the help of Augie and Shag, they go ahead and try and sneak them back in without being seen by anyone, because in Jellystone, stealing boxes results in the frickin' death penalty. I'm joking, it's actually like a life sentence in prison, but I mean, they both aren't good. The pros of this episode would be that it has good jokes, they finally gave Peter a bigger role than just being an anime weirdo, the new characters Snoopy and Blabber are great characters, and I'm glad that the mystery of who stole them happened at the beginning and now they're just waiting for at the end of the episode, if you know what I'm saying. My only con for this episode would be the frickin' unboxing gag. Like, it happened, it was funny the first 2 times, but then they did it with every character in the show, and there was even a montage for it. Like, it's not funny. I'm gonna put this episode above episode 13. So the plot is also pretty simple. Top Cat and Co. try to get arrested to stay at this really nice jail, but they're way too bad in trying to do that, so instead of being sent to a really good one, they're gonna be sent to a really bad one. Pros are it has Top Cat, which I really did not give enough credit for in the last Rankin episode. He was really funny now that I think about it, along with all of his friends, where they all try to scam people. This is really good. The cons is that it did fall into the same problem that Cats Do Dance had, where it was a bit repetitive with Top Cat and Co. trying to do the same thing, and it was a bit predictable. I'm gonna put it below episode 2 on this ranking. So the plot is relatively pretty simple. Augie, Yaki, and Shag go to help Peter with delivering packages, but a bird knocks Peter out, causing the trio to experience wacky hijinks while trying to deliver the package. Pros that it has good jokes, but man, is it predictable and boring. Below episode 10, there's really nothing to this episode. Despite being super crazy, I just can't think of much to talk about. So the plot is also pretty simple. Augie makes a baby out of a watermelon, however while she left to go do something, the watermelon falls onto Yaki, and Augie thinks that the watermelon came to life because of her love. So the rest of the episode is Augie taking care of a watermelon, despite Yaki being in there and trying to get out. But Augie doesn't listen to her screams of terror because in her mind, she thinks that Yaki's screams are baby noises. It makes just as amount of it just doesn't make sense. Ending up with the help of Shag, Yaki escapes, and Augie doesn't really notice. The pros would be that it has good jokes, some gags are creative, and I'm glad that the ending was rushed through, so we could avoid a sad breakup scene. Cons would be that the liar revealed plot, and it has an annoying catchphrase. I know it's done as a joke, but it doesn't stop it from being annoying. It's kinda like the episode of Phineas and Ferb called Ferb TV with Jeremy's fake sitcom. His catchphrase in it, I know it's meant to be a joke and to parody sitcoms, but it's just annoying, man. I'm gonna be putting it above episode 10. So the plot is also pretty simple. Captain Falcon convinces the citizens of Jellystone to become superheroes, but this was only to make money because when a real threat happens, not only does he leave, but all the quote-unquote superheroes are powerless, causing El Kabong to save the day. The pros are it has good jokes and oh my god, is that Greenfield? Oh god, I don't know what came over me at that part. Anyway, the cons would be that for a superhero episode, this episode is kinda bland, and another con is how they try to force the lesson of but we're all heroes at the end of the day. It would be different if this was brought up earlier, but it really came out of nowhere. I'm gonna put this episode below episode 13. Oh boy, the final episode of season 2. Let's see what they go out on. So the plot is also pretty simple. Augie is a nightmare, so Augie Daddy gets help of the citizens of Jellystone to tell her a bedtime story. Pros are it has good jokes. Out of all the times they could reference Batman, I never thought they would choose the reference of how Batman's parents died, and as a Portal reference, which I will always appreciate. Cons are it is kind of boring, and the final story is just exposition for how Jellystone was made, though we do get the lore that Jellystone is in Canada, and the rest of the world takes place in Bedrock, or New Bedrock as they call it. So I just find that funny that Jellystone is in Canada. Now that I've reviewed every episode of Season 2 of Jellystone, now it is time to rank them. So, number 20 is Episode 3, Bleep. This episode is just boring, to be honest. Cindy episodes usually are. Number 19, Season 1, Episode 11, Spellbook. Good episode, it's just all the ones above this are way better. Number 18, Episode 4, Yogi's Midlife Crisis. Fine episode, just made Yogi too dumb in my opinion. Number 17, Episode 1, Lady Danger, Is It Wrong to Long for Kaboing? Kinda basic and Jabberjar is weird in that episode. Number 16, Episode 8, Pants. Squilly's annoying. Number 15, Episode 16, Balloon Kids. Kinda boring. Number 14, Episode 10, It's a Mad, Mad, Mad Rat Race. I like the episode, but it was always the one that I don't want to come back to for some reason. I don't know why. Number 13, Episode 17, Augie's Baby. Predictable. Number 12, Episode 6, The Sea Monster of Jellystone Cove. Okay, now we're getting into the good episodes. Not saying that the ones before are bad, but these ones are just way better, and I have more positives to say. But it's pretty good, to be honest. Number 11, Episode 9, Uh-oh, It's a Burglar! Nice burglar episode. Number 10, Episode 11, The Brave Little Daddy. Besides Augie's weird way that she's written, this is great. Number 9, Episode 18, Heroes in Capes. Greenfield! Number 8, Episode 13, Boo Boo and Benny, Little Buddy Trouble. I like Boo Boo and Benny's friendship, really wholesome, I wish we could see more of it. Number 7, Episode 14, The Box Thief. Besides the overdue unboxing joke, this is a fun time, elevated by Snooper and Blabber. I hope I can see more of them in future episodes. Number 6, Episode 19, Sweet Dreams. Pretty good, I'll be a basic. Number 5, Episode 15, Jailcation. I love Top Cat. Number 4, Episode 2, Baby Shenanigans. Nice Augie and Co episode. Number 3, Episode 5, Jellystone Moon Patrol. I didn't expect this one to make it so high up, and to be honest, I don't know why, it's just a fine episode. Number 2, Episode 12, The Big Stink. Another episode I didn't think would make it to the top 2, considering it's about a fart, but it was really focused on that and the character interactions were great. And finally, number 1, Episode 7, Business. It's just a really fun episode elevated with the potential lore of maybe a takedown. Phew, I'm finally done. Hey, you should rank both Season 1 and Season 2 together! Fine. Bleep, Boo Boots, Gorilla in our midset, VIP Baby You Know Me, A Coconut to Remember, El Kabong's Kabong is Gone, Kachuka Cheese Explosion, Must Be Jelly, Spellbook, Yogi's Midlife Crisis, Lady Danger, Is It Wrong to Long for Kaboing, Pants, Balloon Kids, It's a Mad, Mad, Mad Rat Race, Augie's Baby, The Sea Monster of Jellystone Cove, Uh-oh, It's a Burglar, The Brave Little Daddy, Heroes in Capes, Mr. Flabby Dabby Wabby Jabby, A Town Video, Welcome to Jellystone, Squish or Miss, Cats Do Dance, Ice Ice Daddy, DNA A-OK, Jelly Wrestle Rumber, Face of the Town, Boo Boo, It's and Benny's Little Buddy Trouble, The Box Thief, Sweet Dreams, My Doggy Dave, Jellystone Moon Patrol, Gotta Kiss Them All, A Fish Sticky Situation, Jailcation, Baby Shenanigans, The Big Stink, Yogi's Tummy Troubles, Business, and finally, Grocery Store. I am very tired right now. You know, I may be feeling better, but it doesn't stop the fact that there are only 20 episodes, and I do need to wait another year for a new season.